Well, this is a hell of an eclipse, I tell you. I guess it catches everyone kind of a little bit off guard. And it's not even here yet. It's happening within the next 10 hours. So this is just a follow-up of what I promised. I wanted to really share with you. This is a very, very powerful eclipse. This can't be understated. This, you can underline that multiple times for many reasons. First of all, just in one day, Neptune enters Eris the first time in 165 years. That's how long it takes to enter, to make a full circle for Neptune. So that will be just a few hours, in roughly a day. The moon by then will have moved from the 10th degree to the 2nd degree of Taurus, which is beautiful in itself. We will get to that, what that Taurus moon means, a lot of success. So this eclipse, that's the number one thing which is very special about it. The second thing is it's Venus getting out of the glare of the sun. Venus has been exactly conjunct the sun on the, let me get that right. I'm always having issues with these dates. Time is so fluid. Anyway, sometime in the last 10 days or so. And the story goes that goes back to the Mayan astrologers. They watched for that. Venus was one of their most important celestial objects to observe. They were predicting all kinds of stuff through just observing the Venus cycle. They found that in these first days, around that time when Venus, you see, Venus changes from evening star to morning star, because when it's no more on this side between Earth and the Sun, then it flips all of a sudden and you will see it early morning. So it is when Venus becomes visible for the first time in the early morning sky. Just 10 degrees apart from the Sun means that the light of the Sun is already illuminating the sky, maybe in a beautiful red or orange. And there is the littlest dot of Venus, very, very tiny, to starting to be visible. It's just that enough darkness is there for it to stand out. That is 10 degrees. That is the 10 degree distance from the Sun, and you see that's what you're having. The Sun, the Moon at 8 degrees 53, 59. You see there's so much happening. So these two are having to actually be here. That is exactly on the ascendant. That is rare too, that the eclipse is at its maximum at the ascendant, which means it's really infusing its energy into the Earth grid, full force on. And it also so happens that it is on the 77th degree west. Now, bear with me. Washington, D.C. has 7702. So there's a very, very strong hit of the American capital and the whole energy line which runs through the globe along that meridian. But naturally, Washington, D.C. is certainly the most charged place on this 360 degree radius, if you would look at it as a grand circle. So on the same degree, that is definitely should give us a hint, at least, that this eclipse has a particularly strong influence on the North American continent, mostly the United States and its government and all which comes out of Washington, D.C. And I stop right there. That's one of the three power centers on this planet. Maybe that much more I want to say. It's Washington, Rome, and London. These are the three pillars in a way. That is where the big obelisks stand, which are 50 plus meters high, those powerful symbols which go back to a time we do not even understand yet fully. But these places are linked, and Washington DC is one of those three most important worldly power places, so to say. Now watch this. I told you Eris would be important, and Eris is in multiple ways. So this is the moment in October 2003 which is reported. That is the records on at that time on Palomar Mountain. The photographic plate was captured. That is the date imprinted on that photograph, and that became the place where Eris would be found on that photo of space, which actually took an amazing time. She was not really found on that photograph dating back to this date till January 2005. That is roughly 14 months later, or even more, 13 months, 12 plus months. Which means this is more of a conception chart of the Eris energy. It's not yet in full blast display. It's simmering there. It's waiting for its moment to come. But I mean, this chart, yes, you see, that's 10th degree of Eris. That's exactly where the eclipse is happening. So this eclipse powers up Eris. Now we should definitely a little bit more look at Eris for a moment. Was found, as I say, 2003, named actually really discovered on January the 5th, 2005. I definitely will bring this chart sometime later, not today. Eris was thought to be slightly bigger than Pluto. That was the real game changer. And naturally, as we all know, in the wake of Eris' discovery, Pluto lost its planetary status. This is big. This is very sorry I'm making noise. I guess the bird deserves some noise here. This is a big statement. Eris is super, super powerful, and it's a feminine force that's to be reckoned with here. So, as I said earlier, this eclipse is a bitch, and I really mean it in all its realness, in a way. So, Eris is derived from the Greek mythology, a goddess living up on Mount Olymp. And she is said to have thrown the golden apple of discord into the table round of the gods to bring the hidden, looming opposition and conflict into the open. That was her intention, to really bring it to a place where it's recognized and fought out, and truth is faced. All these principles which kind of have been there suppressed, and nobody really dares to speak up. Now comes the moment Eris steps in and says, hello, I am here and I don't care. I am ready to take the brunt, ready to go through the fire, to in service, in search for truth and nothing but the truth. That is the basic premise here we are dealing with. Interestingly, as Eris at first, before all that even started, when she just kind of was first time seen on a photograph, it got the designation UB313, which is a particular code they gave by month and the number of objects which already have been discovered. So this is the first code, and very soon after they recognized the importance of that little dot on the plate, and they gave it a nickname which was Xena. XENA. Ena. Now, you all know this is a warrior princess. I mean, this has been a famous TV show after all. So it's amazing how they intuitively picked a very, very matching character again. Eris, that's who she is. She is an Amazon, someone who's really having the power of that feminine force and is able to play its cards, and that is one side of Venus. And Venus in its face of a morning star, as I just before was explaining, this is the energy Venus has at that point in its orbit, which goes back to a great astrologer Bruce Schofield, who did historical research on that and found that Watergate, the tobacco catastrophe, just two things which jump to mind, but many other. Really, Gorbachev was pushed out of power during the days just following Heliocentric rise of Venus being born as a morning star. So anyway, and now think of Xena again, of Eris being that exact same character on steroids. And then, I mean, this is just the start, because you see, that's where Eris is here in this eclipse chart. Actually, in the Eris discovery chart in 2003. Now, this is actually interesting. Just shows you how slow this planet moves. So at the eclipse tomorrow, it is at 24:51. 24:51, and that was 18. How many years before? 22 years ahead. It was not even 5 degrees less. See, 1959 versus 24. 51, yeah, pretty much 5 degrees in all that many years. So what I now want to say is that if you think back, when historically was Eris in that degree where it where the sun and the moon will meet, because again this makes all these people born around these years as having their Eris charged up in their birth chart, and that is everyone roughly between 1940 and 1975. That is that range of 5 degrees, which most astrologers think is really the minimal we can think of planets in kind of starting to resonate with one another, influence each other, pick each other's frequency up, start to amalgamate their energies into one soup, one union. So most exactly in this degree, Eris was in the years 54, 53 till about 58. So that's the center group, and these people are now in their late 60s, early 70s. These are smart people, and many of the real coryphees, so to say, of people who are teaching and really having that heritage from past days, being the elders, the strong elders. They are at the center of this movement. They were the ones who maybe didn't fall as much as many younger people for all the crap which was played out on us and all the hypocrisy and not, who kind of maybe were on track of knowing what probably the truth was and what it was not, much ahead of the game. So just saying, Eris is woken up in millions and millions of people. I mean, I was kind of thinking everybody younger than 45 years or 50 years, let's say 50 years to be generous. Or am I right? Yes, I guess I am saying it right. Yes, so all the older folks, you have Eris empowered. That is probably a hint that we really should now start speaking up if we haven't done so far yet, and that is happening. This is just one of these eclipse expressions, because it sets us up on so many other levels too. It's a real powerhouse. Now I have not really finished yet. Let me just continue here. So here you see Mars on the eclipse day 2247 in the Eris discovery chart. That is the ascendant. Mars on the ascendant, the eclipse right in the power center. I mean, there's much more. We could just stay with these two charts for a while, but I want to keep going and want to just show you how much more is in here. So let's have a few minutes and look just at Eris chart. What stands out is that exact opposition of Saturn with Chiron. In those 12th and 6th house, which is all about health and well-being and bringing things back into balance, squaring this power axis, this powerhouse of Aries energy with itself as being the object here charted in the 10th house, which very often happens in discovery charts, which makes sense. That's the darkest hour of the day or of the night when these pictures are taken. So this is always interesting that, yes, I am the one we're talking about here in this close conjunction with Pallas, which brings in its wisdom, its research, its pattern recognition. That is what Pallas is good for. And not even mentioning TX300, the tracker Cooper belt object, I almost like to say, the one which multiplies power, which really gives you a big sledgehammer, a big truck to show up, even if you're maybe a tiny operator. But here you are with your really big vehicle. That is the energy here which is added in. So you see, this all gives Eris a very, very powerful voice. Interesting too, the Sun here at 28th degree of Libra. That is an exact square position to the United States, the Pluto, actually of the Declaration of Independence, to be very exact, on July 4, 1776. Pluto is at 2732 in Capricorn. Now this degree is really one which always comes up in these present charts. It seems to be there's something brewing with that American Pluto, so to say. There's a big inner shift happening there in how this energy is going to manifest, and has naturally already started. It's really shifting into a higher bandwidth. That's how I would say it. Then the moon here at 0 Virgo, very beautiful here in an out of sign opposition to nonetheless Uranus and Mars, both in the 8th house. Yes, this energy is ready to really fire, and not just kind of attempts and test ammunition. This is really explosive. This is super explosive energy. This is something which doesn't give in, compromises. You see the square to the black moon here in the 11th. This is an energy which dismantles, which breaks open what has been hidden. So this is happening on all levels. Also, planet Earth receives those frequencies, and we will see later on. I have here something really which I'm blown myself. I just wanted this chart here on the side to give you that impression too right away. That is the Philadelphia experiment. That is the time which has been given to Paula Harris, the famous big name in UFO research. She had this really probably one of the last big interviews with Al Bialek, who was a survivor of the Philadelphia experiment, a first time involved human being, who actually was one of the two engineers running the ship at the time, and so he has been giving these details that all came back in his memory after decades, actually, after he first had seen the Philadelphia experiment movie, the Hollywood production in 1984. Anyway, it's all kind of really fascinating stuff, and this Philadelphia experiment, as you see, ties into this eclipse too. Particularly if we look at the Greenwich manifestation, which I have here, bear with me, I have it here. Here it is. That is the eclipse for Greenwich. The other one that I used before, this is where the eclipse is at its maximum, and I want to quickly show you this once more. I think I have it, it's not too far hidden. This beautiful animation of what's happening tomorrow, early morning. See, about here, that's where the maximum shadow is. You see that it grows out of before sunrise, and then as the sun is rising, we are right here in this area, and then from there on, yes, then it plays out. But it's really, for the big part, the eclipse begins before before sunrise. I guess that's the easiest to say. That's the sunrise point, then at the 77th degree of 77 west meridian. You see, this is 60 here, so this would be 90. So 60, 77 is about here in the center point, and that is here, yes, like right here down. And here would be the 0. Here is Greenwich, and that is the Royal Observatory, which defines that whole grid. Anyway, just what I wanted to show you this quickly, so you get really an understanding of how that works, that celestial mechanics. So anyway, this is the maximum eclipse, and this is the eclipse for Greenwich, and you see, I mean, it's uncanny. It's the same axis, so that's why I have the strong feeling that these two events are connected, that actually all the predictions which these two engineers brought back from the future, you have to go back to my recording, I gave you all the details there. It's a few months back, you will find it. Anyway, the information they brought back about Earth changes, which they were given in that future timeline where they were healed from these radiation burns traveling through hyperspace unprotected. Anyway, it all worked out. They were brought back. They stopped the experiment, as they were told, by destroying the equipment with sledgehammers, which was 4 hours later after the experiment started. For 4 hours the ship was nowhere to be seen, nowhere. And then as they did that destruction of the hardware, the ship faded back into reality, and all these sailors who were on flames, embedded in bulkheads, the whole crew went mad, and they all had to be taken care of, the ones who were still alive. It was a terrible disaster, as Tesla had been foreseeing. He stepped out of the experiment, and Einstein also. I guess Einstein also. Actually, it was Einstein who first really stepped out. Tesla kind of, we do not exactly know. However, he died months later. That was in 1943 in October. I guess Tesla's death is in December or so, if I'm not mistaken, of that year. So there was definitely something going on there, that he was he was deeply disturbed, as Einstein both. But that experiment was kind of allowed to go about for many reasons. The price was ready to be paid by existence, as so often with disasters and really sad and tragic things. In the bigger picture, these souls who go through that suffering are surfing a bigger evolutionary principle, and polarities in the end, they all play together like in a Shakespearean drama. That's really how we have to see it, and rise above our idea of duality, because the more we come into the zone of neutrality, of truly understanding how the energies work, we are able to direct them to a higher expression. That's how it goes. So anyway, long and short, the Philadelphia experiment is extremely tied into this whole eclipse pattern, meaning there is probably that connection which allowed for these two engineers to tie into this time. So that's his prediction. 2025 would be the year of huge earth changes. Anyway, I'm a bit ahead of myself. I really want to go back to Eris once more, because as Eris is awakening us human beings, so many of us, this is triggering a shockwave through the body of Earth. Earth is alive. Now I want to get back to what really... okay, a few more words about Eris, which I wrote down here. Discord, strife, the strife for truth, the painted curtain is pulled up. All of a sudden you're faced with a whole different scene of reality. It's the abandoning of old ideas is really forced here, to leave skins, shells behind, because we have to grow out of this mismatched situation. I mean, the story of Pluto is definitely a very good example of how Eris works. Pluto was discovered in 1930. That's many years ago, and was the first planet after Uranus and Neptune. These were the two bigger discoveries before. So kind of Pluto, as much as I love Pluto, and Pluto is extremely powerful and very special, it is small. It is much smaller than Uranus, about 30,000 kilometers, or even 50,000, 30,000, I guess Uranus 50, Neptune 30, and then you have Pluto 2,000 kilometers. Not even as big as the Earth's moon, which is around 4,000 kilometers, so substantially smaller than our moon, which means really, yes, it's a different category, and that was what Eris proved. Eris was finally to be kind of exactly same size as Pluto, maybe a little bit smaller, but 2,000 something kilometers or miles, somewhere in that range. But the big thing is its discovery, what it triggered, that Pluto was degraded to a lesser category, because that was more true to its appearance, its size and such, even though Pluto still stands out because it has a moon almost half its size, which is very special. So Pluto is actually together with its moon Charon, a planetary system. That is the right way to see Pluto, and that's where its very specialness comes in. That's a totally different story, though. We don't go there now. But okay, we have that moon, Uranus, Mars opposition, and I mean there's so much more going on here. I don't want to point at anything, everything. Maybe one more is that Ceres and Hygeia here hugging the ascendant. Actually also Vulcanus, which is a powerful force of eruptive energy. That is one of the Uranian planets. I have them too here in my system. But Ceres, the earth goddess, so this really is an energy which also resonates very deeply with planet Earth, and health and well-being, and the shaking up which is necessary for that to occur. This is all included here. Hexagram 53, by the way, overlaps this. This is progress, actually not, it's not progress, sorry, it's development, something which is expansive, something which goes higher with each step it takes. It's kind of that bird going to higher and higher branches on trees, climbing up. That's kind of the image. So you see, this chart in itself is an absolute powerhouse. Now, as I said, this is kind of the base chart for Eris, breaking things open, no regrets, and this is the heliocentric chart of that moment. Very interesting. Here is the exact square of Mercury with Chiron. You remember in the geocentric chart we have the Chiron Saturn opposition, and if we go into the heliocentric we have the, you see they're kind of out of line here in the heliocentric, 7 versus 17. However, now we see the square of Saturn with Mars, and Mars exactly in midheaven. That's why I really wanted to show you this chart. This really shows the power behind, which is working through Eris, because this is the original force, the solar chart, the heliocentric chart. This is the quality of solar energy in that moment. That is what the photons carry, all the little packages of information. That is the information which is delivered, which is the lifeblood, you could say, the music we dance with, and then the expression is the geocentric. Anyway, you see there's these two squares. I found that really special. It is showing, this is the Mars infusing Saturn, really putting fire under Saturn's bum, almost telling Saturn to act on its power, to be, to stand up and enforce, and that's exactly what Mars and Saturn are together. They are the forces which break things apart, which really bring big challenges in. And on the mental plane, Mercury is the one which is picking up and feeding on Chiron, which is the one which recognizes what's wrong. That is the wonderful thing about a good physician, and that's what Chiron is. It breaks the wounds open, lets the pus out, discloses what's wrong, and all the ingredients in that one thing they want to put in your body. That's what Chiron is watching out for, to get that all into the open. So you see, this is the force we are dealing with, not even thinking of the heliocentric Jupiter-Uranus opposition. I mean, Eris is an absolute powerhouse. Now think of this energy is now portrayed, brought to the forefront through this eclipse in full force over the next at least 6 months. Now let's go back a bit more into this eclipse family. I had also promised you that, to go to the first eclipse of this Saros series 149, which adds up to a 5, as you know. On that note, tomorrow is the 5th day in the new Mayan calendar, 5 Chikchan. You can't make that stuff up. 5 Chikchan is the red overtone snake. The snake is all about survival and instinct, and really connecting with that force in our bellies. And in that sense, that's the belly of Mother Earth. Really, we are connecting into. That's where the fire emerges. That's why also all that seismic activity, all the geomagnetic storm we had in the last 48 hours preceding this eclipse, it's really epic. There's nothing less than that, because also there was an X1.1 solar flare, probably the first in a couple months or so. Yes, then the moon will be closest to Earth also tomorrow, within 24 hours of the eclipse. So this eclipse, because the moon is so close, will even take away more from the solar disk because it's bigger than the sun right now. So the eclipse at its maximum is up to 93% discovery, covering the solar disk. Yes, discovering it too. We had 3 large earthquakes today. You probably heard that. At least one in Myanmar, 7.7. Interesting. There was a afterquake of 6.7, and then in the mid-Atlantic rim was a 6.6 quake. Also, probably so far. I guess there's a 6.7 just a few days ago in New Zealand, south of New Zealand. 7.6 in the Caribbean, but other than that there were no bigger quakes yet this whole first 3 months of the year. So these are really signs something big is looming here. This is just a reception, the rolling out the red carpet kind of thing. So okay, let's just keep going. I just want to throw this in about the Mayan calendar. It's all matching. Okay, watch this. 13 degrees something, midheaven, 13 degrees, midnight point now. This is the first eclipse of this family, which gives the basic energy to this pattern of eclipses which come every 18 years. Now let's go back here to this chart here. What you have here, the 14th degree of Cancer, Saturn, 14th degree of Capricorn, Chiron, and here you have it. It's just magic. I am, aside from all the difficult energies we are dealing with, this is beautiful to see the blueprint, the energetic blueprint there for us to be understood. And the more we really are ready and able to read the signs, to understand the patterns and what to look for, the more we also can understand about ourselves. It's very simple because it is the same kind of energies each of us has in their birth chart. This is the first eclipse, as I say, which initiated this pattern on August 21st, 1664, and this was the degree which was rising in Greenwich, the 11th degree of Libra, with Eris on the other side, on the 7th house. And again, think of where the eclipse tomorrow happens. It happens at pretty exactly 9 degrees, so less than 1.5 degrees away from this powerful point. So again, showing that this present eclipse is very loud, going bring its force really here right to the descendants, in a 90-degree angle almost to the midheaven midnight point, which is the plumb line, where gravity works, and levitation on the other side. Hades here. Hades is quite a dark force dealing with the underworld. That's again one of the Uranian planets here, in unison, in conjunction with Vesta. Vesta, the energy committed to serve to a higher principle. So this is also the understanding that yes, we have to go through dark stuff, we have to accept, allow that to take place. It is necessary. It is a big purification, cleaning process, Earth as a whole, and each of us is going through on our own path in our own way, but everything will be upgraded over the next many months in a accelerating pattern, as we already know from whatever we have experienced in the last few years alone. I mean, it's been a progression. If you look back into your lives, I guess each of us can say that there has been an acceleration, not maybe of time itself in a mechanical way, but everything becomes more events are compressed in each second. I guess that's how it really works. It's more densely populated time, and we have less kind of gaps in between to switch off and relax. Even though we should do that, we will have to do that and allow for the things also to play out while we do not pay attention, and to trust in God, to trust in things go the right way. And that's exactly what they do, because here we have it in the charts. It's already here. We just have to allow it and go with it and do the best with it, run and do the best of it. That's the message here. Okay, I give you another little beautiful piece. The eclipse, that one which gave birth, which set the theme, which has lots of Leo energy, you see. Leo being the sun sign per se. That is the stage of life where you show up and proclaim who you are, what you're here for, why you're playing this game, what you want to get out of it. It's where you leave marks in the world. That's the sign Leo. And the 29th degree, now watch this. Now we go to tomorrow's eclipse, again in the heliocentric, and where is Mars? The 29th degree of Leo. I guess you start seeing that there's more to this than you would think. It's an incredible pattern we are watching here. And I mean, this chart in itself, you see there's a exact square between Uranus, Sedna, and Mars. So if you take the midpoint, it's pretty exact. Would be 28, 48, 28, 26. So Mars makes a perfect square to Uranus and Sedna. And as we discovered, as I showed you, this is a pattern of volcanic eruptions. From deep down comes this fire. That is the symbolic meaning here. I showed you the Vesuvius, the Mount Etna of 1669 or something. You have to go back to that recording. You will see it if you're interested. But that has a very exact Uranus-Sedna conjunction 1669 around. Yes, right at midheaven, when the catastrophe really took off and the volcano blew off, which killed thousands of people. One of the biggest catastrophes in recorded history. That was. Anyway, just saying, there's a pattern here of extreme force hidden in this eclipse, particularly the one from tomorrow, but it roots into the energy of the base of this eclipse family, which we have here. Yes, 29 degrees Leo. So let's keep going. Now I do some midpoint charts here. I take the midpoint between that first eclipse in 1664 and the one of tomorrow, and that's where we're ending up. In time and space, the midpoint between the two maximum eclipses, that's what I took as a base. No, actually, sorry, I said wrongly, for Greenwich. This is for Greenwich, for the Earth as a fractal. That's how Greenwich works, as I have shown you in multiple ways. It really works that way. That is the main handle on this planetary experience. So the midpoint here, the 30th degree of Leo comes to the ascendant. I guess that's close enough, as you can see the connection here to what I just showed you before. And then there's Eris here on the other side, in conjunction with Astrea. Astrea, the one who is rolling its sleeves back, really ready to jump in and help and be the one who is executing and doing the right thing, what has to be done in that difficult moment, really helpful and assisting that is the energy. And naturally with Eris, Juno here, that is the part of fortune, and that is the ascendant. So Juno here is cooperation, working together. It is one of these main asteroids, was named after Zeus' wife. Actually, Juno is the Roman counterpart, but it's that same. It's the wife of the emperor who is making sure everything goes well, but there is this really strong relationship theme, which is really what I see as a most important asteroid for kind of depicting all of human population, how we work together as a team, as knowing that it needs many pillars for a big roof to be carried, and each of us plays a critical role in that. That is coming into clear vision with this eclipse too, and it is linked into this courage to stand its truth, one's light, keep it shining regardless of what comes, and trust God. You will know the right thing to do in the right moment if you're mentally and emotionally prepared for what is in the tube. Interesting also here in this midpoint chart, 1740 Virgo, where Chiron is in this midpoint chart. If we quickly look back, 17 Virgo, you see 17 Virgo here at the root of this chart of tomorrow for Greenwich. It's unbelievable, the interconnections, how these different landmarks in time where powerful energies were anchored, how they are the reinforcement of what happens, what manifests tomorrow, that big stake which is put into the ground, how it is connected to these other big stakes in the ground. And then on top of this, December 9, 1844, this is another eclipse of that same pattern came exact on that day, and you understand why this is the case. This has to be the case because, and I'll show you quickly, just bear with me. I'm going to go back to this once more. Yes, here I have it still open. You see, this was the first eclipse we just looked at. Let me see if I can highlight it. Yep, that is the one. 1664, August 21st. And right now we are at the 21st eclipse of this family. And naturally what is in between is the 11th. How can it be otherwise? So there's an eclipse on that midpoint between these two important junctures in time. And that eclipse in 1844, actually I looked it up, this was a really dark one. That was at the start of the potato blight in Ireland, which really came to full recognition in 1845 and that lasted into 1849 or so. So these were terrible years, and so this is a very difficult midpoint energy. Also the opposition to the black moon naturally shows that. And but we won't go deeper into this, just want to say this is the midpoint between the two energies. So you can see there is some powerful and difficult energy in there enclosed, which has to be worked out and brought to the forefront. You see the perfect square here between Chiron and the eclipse, the luminaries. Yes, not good, and there's much more of that going in this chart. We don't really want to go there right now, but just as a reference point. Okay, I have another one here which really stands out. That's now again the discovery plate moment with tomorrow's eclipse, the midpoint, time space midpoint. I can't talk anymore. Anyway, see again 19th degree of Cancer, the Sun and Earth and the ascendant just very, very close by, and the 20th degree again resonating in the same way. It's just reinforcing each other. Interesting in this chart, which kind of shows how Eris energy really comes into balance with this solar eclipse families or present expression. And what stands out is that Salasya Maki opposition, which is in the eclipse of tomorrow as well. I should switch back to that so you can see it. We have Maki here and Salasya. They are opposing each other for many years to come. It started, as we see there in that chart, of 2014. You see 2003. This chart dates back of Eris discovery plate. 2025 the midpoint, 2014. So since more than 10 years these two have been in a standing opposition, working together as a team. Maki is the courage to go through deep and treacherous passages in order to find redemption, to be elected as the chosen one to link up with this goddess energy based on the myth of the Napa Hui on Easter Island, where this character has been inspired by. Salasya, Neptune's wife, which is all about enjoyment and pleasure and the merging of fire and water. It is that mesmerizing play when you watch the rays of the setting or the rising sun or the moon reflecting on the water. That is the energy Salasya has, very gentle, and now connects the two. This really gives us one of the big flavors of our time, I would say, of enjoyment in that struggle, in that power push towards truth. Maki is definitely a big force in that. And as they in sync entered Aries and Libra in 2016-17, that was really the years where things got difficult in a new way, where things got very different. That was actually the word I wanted to use. Yes, difficult too for other people who didn't really anyway, we don't go there. This is yet another story. Okay, next, Mars, Eris, Vesta, the North Node. Wow, what a conjunction, all opposing Eris and the South Node. I guess you get the picture. This is again the same energy as you have in Eris discovery chart. This is real ammunition. This is not just fake. Something is going off here. Yes, very, very, very big stuff here hiding. Yes, there's much more. I don't want to go into all the details, just point out really the most outstanding things. Interesting here, maybe one more here. I can't stop. Palace and Eris, and Palace and Chiron, sorry. Pallas Chiron again in that 18th degree of Virgo. Just go back here quickly to show what I mean. Here you have it 17, and then here you have it 18th, that is tomorrow's eclipse. So it's stunning. It's really stunning. That's the beauty I'm talking about. So maybe as a little surplus here, cherry on the top, the Philadelphia experiment quickly, and then here, this is the midpoint chart. That's really what I wanted to show you, how even here you can see the connection, particularly in the heliocentric. So that's the time-space midpoint of tomorrow's maximum eclipse, with that moment when the ship disappeared, when the experiment took off. Uranus in perfect T-square here with the main horizon axis, TX 300 again, the one which amplifies everything. Huya, the one which rewrites history literally, which goes back and understands that things are working out differently than I thought before. It's the in a way the correction of the Akashic records, making things, putting it into the right context, understanding why things happen, all of that. And then Chiron here, I mean, you can't make that stuff up here with Hades, again the lord of the underworld, which has to do with all the dark and difficult and heavy. And nevertheless, Arrokoth at 3 degrees 259 here in early Sag, exactly opposing the two. I mean, this is just again a little detail, but a very meaningful, powerful detail. Arrokoth being the one which understands things from a greater perspective. So that is I mean, it is the saving grace that we are prepared for what's to come, and that is what Arrokoth stands here for. Pretty much what I am here teaching and sharing with you. The equatorial point, the ascendant on the equator, is tied into this. I mean, it's very clear in my understanding, and naturally I see more than I really can explain, because there's so many layers, and again, I don't want to make this video for 2 hours. I really just want to show you the most outstanding connections we have here. And this is the same chart in the, yeah, I have it the other way around, but let me put this into what it should be. The geocentric here, that is the one I wanted to show you here quickly. That is that same midpoint chart, Philadelphia experiment with tomorrow's solar eclipse, now in earthly perspective. The south node here with Uranus, yes, very clear. The north node with Chiron, I just pointed out before. The moon in the 28th degree of Capricorn. Think back what I said about that degree as being the place where Pluto is in the American nations chart. Yes, there is. It's amazing. It's really mind-blowing, and what we just experienced the last 48 hours alone, with the earthquakes, with the X1.1 solar flare just hours ago, and yeah, let's see where this all is going. Very important now. This is now really a serious recommendation to be ready for some big stuff. To start thinking, as I said, I think it really starts becoming very, very visible once Venus moves direct, which is after the 13th of April, all the way into the end of May. This is kind of the first big window, early June. Anyway, I don't want to create any fear, but at the same time, this has to happen in a way. This is part of the script, and let's get through it with as much of a clear vision and know what we might expect than possible. All the best to everyone on this planet. I'm wishing, and I know this will be the case, everybody will get exactly what they signed up for, and everybody has their role in this cosmic drama. Thank you for being here, and wish you all a wonderful eclipse day. Take time to meditate or sit with the energy, even if it's hours after. It's like full moons, new moons also basically last for 3 days. So this is a holy period. And thank you for being here, and talk to you soon. Bye bye.